If you know, like I know, you know that most of these companies and corporations and big businesses are owned by just a few of the same people, whether they be family members or distant family or just friends that are embedded in business. There's only a few people that own and run all these big, huge corporations. These corporations that you might think are in competition with each other, like say for instance Pepsi and Coke, or McDonald's and Burger King, things of that nature, etc., are really owned by just the same group of people. You might think to yourself, well, how's this possible? If I looked up the owner of this corporation and his name is such and such, that's not the same last name as such and such and such and such or whoever else. They do stuff like this through straw man purchases using identities of either a totally fake identity or a totally whole fake human being, meaning that the person is real whose name it's in, but really his whole identity belongs to a person or entity of the corporation who's using him as a mask identity. For instance, Mark Zuckerberg or Jeff Bezos or Steve Jobs. Now, there's definitely cases where the everyday average person can rise to the ranks and rise up above the basic concept of what owning a business is for most people, like a mom and pop type store. Or if you have a store or a business that turns into a decent size powerhouse in the industry, few people rise above that, but there are people that do rise above that to the ranks of a McDonald's or something along those type of lines. So when you got newcomers coming into this quote unquote secret society of big business who made it there on their own, you would think that making it there on your own and having full ownership of your corporation or business, whether it's yourself or a conglomerate of people, you would think that that would be enough and should be enough for you to not have to join forces with any outside entity to continue doing business if you have a solidified clientele and a solidified base and having a product which is going to be needed and be used no matter what. But the benefits to secret big business, to be involved with these secret societies, there's a couple benefits to it. The first benefit is you get access to hidden data and technology. Every successful business has think tanks and meetings of nonstop marketing strategies and concepts and coming up with different ways of how to progress and move forward and push the company forward. Every company has that within their own company. Some companies that have been around for a long time have gathered intel for years and data for years of possible even local experiments or conglomerates from studies. A lot of these studies come from colleges. You can purchase information and stuff like that from these study tanks, these study groups. But the hidden data that you have access to is you have access to stuff like secret surveillance monitoring, intel gathered from things like illegal access of your phone cameras and your phone microphones, the kind of stuff that you'll never hear about that they do on everyday average people. A lot of surveillance people automatically think is there to stop crime or things of that nature. But for the people that run the world, is really the hidden data and the hidden intel that they gather from people on an illegal secret basis is what really gives true information about a person or a people. Because you got to remember, especially in the day of social media and the internet, people are only going to allow you to see what they want you to see. There are, of course, situations to where people are doing things online that they might not want people to know about, but they're operating with the mind state that is not going to be found out about, or it's going to be a secret for themselves. But for the most part, anybody who does anything on the internet, whether social media or browsing or whatever the case may be, they're operating under the guise that whatever they're doing is not going to be exposed. So the access to hidden data and technology has all these files and allows you to have access to these files. Maybe not firsthand access to where you can go in and look at them yourself, but they know where, by using strategies like this, they know who, where, and what uses and needs certain type of products, and what's welcome to certain places and not welcome to certain places, what can be more driven here or there, and things of that nature. The next thing that you get is access to materials, things that you need to make certain products work sufficiently and efficiently that are scarce or in places in the world that are regulated or protected by either governments or the people, the natives, or just dangerous to reach. Small companies may have to use a cheaper version or a not so sufficient version of something to make something work in their product, as opposed to these big businesses and secret societies have access to the actual piece of material that will really make it run how it's supposed to run the right way all the time. The hidden technology and hidden materials that you can't get on an everyday basis. The next thing that you have access to is slave labor and or mass production and distribution. Slave labor meaning exactly what it says. Slave labor, a lot of places overseas are using children as young as 5, 6, 7 years old, 10 years old to manufacture products in warehouses and sweatshops under the guidance of a rifle being pointed at them, or under the guidance of being able to eat or be fed. Some people have to literally work all day long in certain sweatshops to be able to just to eat, not to go buy something, but literally to be given food. This is going on in many countries all over the world. Many places are doing this. This is how places like Walmart are able to have products dirt cheap. Not only can they do regular business and purchase products in bulk and volume and be able to cut out the middleman or any smaller stores who can't afford to make those type of purchases, but they also have direct access to slave labor, and also not the slave labor, illegal immigrant labor. A lot of these companies, even here in Pennsylvania where I'm at, in this area not too far from here, companies were busted for trading and transferring illegal immigrants from Mexico and other places, worked them for like about a month or two, I think it was, just long enough to where they won't be detected, then send them away and bring a whole new group in, work them for 2 months, send them away, bring a whole new group in. But this was exposed in Pennsylvania years ago, how stuff like that happens. And it was like big companies, big name companies that were caught doing this. The next thing you have access to is psychological data, history, and marketing. Like I said earlier, a lot of companies, all companies have their own think tanks and their own experimental marketing strategies to move forward. But this type of data is data that has been being constructed from the beginning of time. This is the type of data that they understand humans on the level of where certain shapes or certain colors will drive you into making certain purchases, or drive you into making certain decisions, or can make you happy, make you sad, can control your day through simple shapes, designs, and colors. It's the small things like that. Another part of psychological data and history marketing is another example of, like I said, hidden data and hidden experiments, in a sense of, say, if a certain movie comes out that contains mind control or mental programming is released, they'll put movies like that certain places, and then they'll monitor the public's reaction, the local public's reaction of how they interpreted this movie and how it's going to affect them moving forward in life and making day-to-day basic decisions. You won't notice stuff like that on your own because you're not watching yourself from a distance. But believe it or not, there's certain programming in certain movies, certain videos, things you see in that are pushed out in commercials that shape your concept of how you move through life. You might see something in a movie or somewhere that's has direct mind control and will alter you from that moment on, and you won't notice it. It might be something subtle, like you might not never go buy a certain product anymore for whatever reason, or you may always start buying a certain product after that for whatever reason, things of that type of nature. The next thing you get is protection from litigation by any means. For some companies that aren't rooted and don't have access and connection to these secret societies and big business, getting certain types of lawsuits can wipe the company out indefinitely, or can really cripple the company. Having protection from litigation gives you access to still operate full-fledged, even if you have 1,000 lawsuits going on. It allows you to still operate, to still be beneficial, still be profitable as lawsuits are going out. And these are the type of situations where you'll see people start to disappear or be killed off or have heart attacks or car accidents things like that. Like for instance, like Kevin Spacey's accusers being two or three of them ended up dead before the trial and things like that. Stuff like that. That's what you get from being part of these secret societies and secret groups. You get protection from basic litigation. It doesn't mean that you're going to lose. That it doesn't mean that you won't lose a lawsuit or that you won't lose a court case. But by the time it gets to the point where you lose or you have to pay up or whatever the case may be, it's going to be such a small sum of money that's coming out of your own pocket. And also, this will come out of the funding of the secret society itself and the corporation itself. Because remember now, at this point, you're involved in the society, which brings on the next benefit that you get, which is the option to purchase shares of the society. Because at this point, the money you're making from your company, they might report on Forbes, this company made $500 million. But at the end of the day, that's not relevant to you as a person or entity within that business of the business that you're operating. At that point, this money's going right into the fund of the secret society that you're involved in, the big business society. Your payments are coming from the big business society, sort of like a union. So at that point, it doesn't matter what they say that the money is that your company has made or is worth. It's irrelevant at that point. Your money's coming from the society itself, because now you're branded and you have a brand that's everlasting. But these are some of the benefits of being part of the big business or a secret society that's controlling the world business stage all over the globe. But the most sacred part of how big business operates and how all these conglomerates and secret societies are formed is that money really has nothing to do with big business at all.